Hello YouTube. I was recently tagged in one of Calmbiker's recent videos to answer some questions about me and my bike. So here we go. So question number one is, when did you start riding motorbikes? Well, very few people know that the first time I started riding it was actually a moped, and it was back when I was 18, and I had what was called a Yamaha Townmate, which was a bit peculiar looking, but I actually thought it was the bee's knees, because in those days I'd only recently started working properly, and I needed a cheap, reliable mode of transport, and this Townmate came up from a guy that my dad knew, so I had it off him, and it was an automatic, and I think it was 80cc, so it used to give a few 50cc mopeds a run for the money, I can tell you. But that didn't last too long, because, you know, in those days I was only about 18 years old, and I was forever tazzing around on it and acting like a bit of a dickhead, and it wasn't long before bloody came off the damn thing and completely knackered it up. So that kind of put paid to that for a while, and it wasn't really until in my late 30s that I kind of considered riding a bike again, and I just happened to get talking to a few guys at work about it, and they suggested I put in for my DAS, so that's what I did in 2010. I put in for my DAS and passed my full bike licence in February 2011, so I've only really had a full bike licence for about 5 years, so yeah, that's the answer to question one. Question two is, why did I start? Well, I was going through a bit of a rough divorce at the time, and I had to give up the car as part of the settlement, and I was looking for, you know, another mode of transport. And like I say, I was talking to these guys at work, and really that was the main reason. Thought I'd have a go, pass my test, and the rest, as I say, is history. And I've never looked back since, and certainly don't have a car anymore, and I'm not sure whether I'd go back to a car. I really enjoy riding bikes. So yeah, that's question two. Question three, what was my first motorcycle? Well, apart from the Yamaha Townmate, which I wouldn't necessarily class as a motorbike, my first bike was a YBR 125, which I bought to pass my test on. So I bought that in the November of 2010, and it was a lovely little bike. It got me around, it got me used to riding a bike again. Obviously it was geared, so it was perfect for learning on. So that was my first bike, but my first big bike that I had was a Suzuki GS 500. Now, I bought that bike a week before I was due to pass my test, so it was a bit of a risk at the time. But this bike came up on eBay, and it was a bit of a bargain, really. I think it was 600 quid, and so I bid for it, and I won it. So the guy had to deliver it, because I obviously at that time I hadn't passed my test. So I had it on the property until a week later when I passed my test, and then that afternoon rang the insurance company up, got it insured, and I was out on it. So yeah, it was pretty awesome. Question number four, how many bikes have I ridden? I've ridden, I think it's 5 bikes of my own, and I've ridden one belonging to someone else. That was a vlogger called Brennig. He very kindly let me ride his Triumph a couple of years ago, and that was nice. But yeah, I've ridden 6 bikes, 5 of my own, which were obviously the YBR 125, the GS 500, my SV 650, which I'm on today, my Kawasaki Kawasaki ER5, yeah, I think that's right, and obviously Brennig's bike, so I think that makes 6, if I'm right. Question number 5, what is my dream bike? Well, I don't actually have a dream bike. I'm not madly into bikes, if I'm brutally honest. I mean, I enjoy riding them, obviously, but I've never been, you know, a massive fan of bikes. I've never bought bike magazines or anything like that, so I've never really had a perfect bike in mind. I mean, at the moment, this SV650 that I've got now is what I would consider my perfect bike for now, but you know, I'm sure that will change if at some time in the future I decide to upgrade it, and maybe that will become my dream bike. But no, I don't necessarily have a dream bike as such. Question number 6, off-road or on street? Well, I'm not really wanting to go off-road. I'm quite happy to ride a bike on the street. Although I do fancy at some point in the future to do a track day, but I'm certainly not fussed about doing off-roading on a trials bike. I'm not a big fan of that. I think I'd end up coming off it too many times, and I'm worried like what happened to Calmbiker. I mean, he had a pretty awful accident where he damaged his shoulder, and I think that's kind of my fear, really. So no, definitely stick to street, I think. Question number 7, have you ever had an accident or fallen off your bike? Well, I've never had an accident, but I've definitely fallen off a bike a few times. Almost every bike I've had, I've come off in some shape or another. Although I didn't come off my YBR for some reason. That was one bike I didn't fall off, but I definitely remember falling off twice on my GS500. One time I was coming up to a junction, and I happened to stall the bike, and because it was unexpected, I just happened to tumble over to the side. It was all very slow motion. Another time I came off that bike, I was coming home from an ex-girlfriend's house of mine, and it was early in the morning, and we'd had some pretty awful icy weather the night before, and I skidded off in some black ice, so that wasn't very pleasant. What other bikes have I fallen off? Oh, this SV650. I've had an issue with my disc lock a couple of years ago when I inadvertently left it on and proceeded to ride away, and it obviously didn't go very far, and I fell over. Again, very slow motion, nothing too serious. I think my pride was hurt more than the bike. And I came off my Kawasaki ER5 when I was coming round the roundabout about a year or two ago. I think it was because of some diesel, if I remember right, and I came on this island and hit this diesel, and off I went. The bike went one way and I went the other, but touch wood, I've never actually had an accident, just had some minor offs. Right, question number 8. When did I start motovlogging? Well, I actually started in January 2013, so just over 3 years now I've been vlogging, and I originally wasn't really gonna have a go, but I'd been to America in the autumn the year before, and I wanted to kind of film my time there. So what I did, I bought a camera that I could attach to a car windscreen, and I filmed a lot of my driving through Death Valley. So when I was thinking about buying this camera, I thought, well, why don't I get a camera that I can attach to a helmet, and then when I come back from America I can think about doing some vlogging, because by that time I had been watching vloggers for a few years. So yeah, I kind of just kind of fancied giving it a go, really, and the rest, as I say, is history. Question number 9, which motovlog channels do I watch? Oh god, that's a hard question. I mean, I'm subscribed to far too many. I think at the current count, I think I'm subscribed to about 450 channels, so I do try and watch every single channel and every single video where possible, but I suppose those that I would generally watch as a rule would be those vloggers that I've chatted to and met in the hangouts that Mr. B and Weggy host. So that's your Calmbikers, your infamous bikers, Woman Wolf Rider, etc, etc, Who Am I UK. So those are the guys, they're the sort of motovloggers I kind of watch first really, and then once I've watched their videos I'll then sort of move on to the other vlogger channels that I watch. So yeah, but you know, I try and watch everyone. I watch a lot of vloggers in America, as I do in Australia, so the likes of Mr. Oz Adventure and Captain Cranky. I watch those channels, and obviously O2 Big Kev, of course. So I really enjoy watching vloggers from different parts of the world. That's really interesting. And finally, question number 10: does my bike have a name? Well, no, not really. I've never been a big fan of giving any type of vehicle a name, really. Whether it's a car or a bike, I don't see the point, to be honest. It's just a means of getting from A to B. But you know, we'll occasionally refer to the bike as she or her. But as for a name, no, I don't give the bike a name. I don't see the point. So yeah, that's it, guys. So that's my 10 questions. I hope you enjoyed the answers to those questions. So I guess what I need to do now is tag some others. So I've had a good think about this, and I think what I'll do, I'll tag the guys that I went to Ireland with on the tour around the Wild at One Way last June in 2015. So that'll be Metalhead 18241, Mr. Hughesy, Hoggybrin 39 and 08 Rides. So there you go, guys, I've tagged you. So if you fancy doing a response to this video, I'll be interested to hear your answers to those questions, and anyone else for that matter. If you fancy doing a video response, then feel free. So anyway, guys, I think that'll do for now. So as always, ride safe, and I'll catch you next time. See you, mate. All right. Take care, mate. Yeah.